Hello mate. Right, as promised, I'm going to do a little video of how to put these together. Okay, the PVA bag system, Solidz bags, medium sized. As you know, these come with a little scoop, which is in there. So that's the little scoop you get. All right, very handy. Okay, I'm going to just talk you through the process without putting the lead in the actual PVA bag. So what I'm going to actually show you is how I would set up this system, and then I'll explain how I put the lead in the bag afterwards. As you can see on my hook, I've actually got, I don't know if I can zoom in, but you can see I've got like a threaded boilie holder. Yeah, it's like a little eyelet one. I like these because they do move about quite nicely around the hook, and I use two little hair beads on the hook so that it doesn't have too much distance to travel. And also, when I use this system, I can control the position of the pop-up boilie over the top of the hook, so the presentation when you've got the boilie on, it can be adjusted to sit so that the hook is literally right underneath the boilie. So if the fish take it from above, they can't see the hook, and I just find it's a nice little system to use. Don't get me wrong, I still use the hair rigs as well, or a bit of bait floss, boilie floss or whatever, but this I tend to find is a nice little presentation over the boilie, over the hook, sorry. Anyway, what I'm going to do, if I can find them, I'm going to put one of the manila white ones, and these are the 16mm boilie. So they smell quite nice, considering I still ain't got my full sense of smell back. But right, look, I'm not going to go into too much detail with everyone, but over the years when I've been fishing with pop-ups, right, if there's anything that I've taken away and I've learned from making a pop-up setup, if you've got the floss coming through, yeah, and if you don't sit that floss properly centrally through the boilie, sometimes it can actually cause the boilie to sit slightly off from the actual the hook itself, and it causes an imbalance, if that makes sense. I know this is a bit tartish and whatever and a bit technical, but believe me, it does actually cause issues with the presentation of your bait. So what I tend to do is, on most of the boilies you get like a little dimple. I don't know if you can see it, but there's like a little dimple. You probably just see it, the central there, like a little flat spot. So if I roll it, see it? Right, I tend to aim for that area because that's where it's actually been rolled out of the boil, like the table, and that is actually one of the ends. So you can guarantee that that flat spot is quite central to the rest, to the rest of the boilie. So I tend to look for that little flat spot, and that's where I then fix the boilie onto this little threaded screw. So again, right, this is the little flat spot, as you can just see it here, just above my finger, and all I do is I just find the center and I just gently, we can get it there, right, just gently, don't push it on. A lot of people push these onto the actual thread, and they actually do come off, so use the thread. Alright, so that's that going on, and I'll try and make sure that when I'm doing it, I look at it so that from all angles, when I'm looking at it, it's not going off and causing the actual boilie to be sort of kicked off set. I know this, like I say, it sounds really stupid, but it was one of the things that I noticed when I was putting my hook in the water and looking at the presentation. It was one of the things that I noticed. With these, you can get away with it with these little bait, threaded bait eyelets. You can get away with it quite nicely because it's inside. But if you've got bait floss coming out the top and it's just slightly offset, this will cause the boilie to just be a little bit off balanced. So it's just something worth thinking about. Anyway, without keep waffling on about all of that, so that's what I've done. I've got the boilie on the little boilie hair rig, or whatever you want to call it, hair link. So PVA bags. Now, Lee, you were right by what you said, mate. Yes, if you use the large ones, and when you're casting them out, it does feel like you're casting out a brick, and they make an almighty mess in the water when they hit, especially if they haven't been perforated. So I tend to use the medium ones purely because these are nicely balanced, they're nicely sized, right, and you can only get so much bait in these, but you can really load them out. All right, don't be scared to stretch the material. You know, the worst thing that can happen is it will slightly tear. Well, all you've got to do in that case is just get a bit of PVA tape and just tape over that little hole or whatever. These are, you know, they're versatile, so don't be too put off by, oh, you know, I've put so much in there and it's going to split the bag. Where if that does happen, use a bit of PVA tape just to patch it up. All right, so in which case, I've already got some Blue Peter ears, what I've made earlier. So these are the bags that I made the other day. So this is one. All right, so I've got very central. If you see that line, it's central. There's a weight in there, my hook length's in there, and the whole aspect of this is that you want that to sit, that, you know, like that braid, you want it sitting central to that bag. It is key to your casting. It is key to how this is, you know, how it impacts on the water, and it won't split in the air. It's very well balanced, as you can see. So getting that right is, you know, is paramount to how this is going to work for you when it hits the water. So that's what we're aiming to achieve. Nice tight bag, yeah, and with the tough lead core going right the way through. It's nicely presented. Right, okay, so I've got my bag, open it up. Right, sorry if I'm a bit out of focus and out of I'm going to move this up a little bit more so that I can get you in to all of what I'm doing. Alright, that might be better. Okay, so yeah, so I've got my bag, yeah. So the first thing I want to do is scoop up some of me particle mix, and I'm literally just putting 1 scoop in that bag. 1 scoop, yeah, bearing in mind it's that scoop that I'm using that should come with your PVA bags. If you haven't got one, just literally use a teaspoon or a tablespoon. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing that all down into the corners. All right, I'm pushing it down and using my finger to push that right into the corners and right into the bottom of the bag. I've not gone mad just yet because I want to put my hook length in there, yeah. So my hook length goes in. Now a lot of people go, well, what about my presentation? What about how my hook and my pop-up's going to come out when that bag starts to break down? Right, so what you do, in the middle of the bag, right at the bottom, yeah, you can see that right in the bottom, in the middle, I'm making a little indent, just big enough for that boilie to sit in. I'm not worried about the hook at the moment, I'm just worried about that boilie, because that is the first thing that I want to come out of that bag, yeah. So I've pushed it down right in the middle, as you can see, yeah, and trying to work it straight almost to the bottom of the bag. So when this bag starts to split and tear open, I want to be able to see it straight in the corner. I've pushed all the other stuff into the corner, and that boilie is now in that bag right in the middle, yeah. So now top it up, another scoop, yeah. Now this time I'm looking for my hook. Now my hook, I want to be able to feel the hook and bear with me, I want to be able to feel that hook point. So I'm positioning it so that basically, right, I've just pierced the middle of the bag, right, I've brought the hook through the PVA bag, yeah. Now that's not going anywhere now, so I can continue to push that bait down, pack it out. And the reason why I've put that hook through, you probably already guessed anyway, is because when that boilie comes out of that bag, I'm the right mess here. When that boilie comes out of that bag, that hook ain't going to have far behind it to come out. And a lot of people go, oh, you know, that might stay in the PVA. Well, actually, it won't. It will come out with the boilie. I've sat down and trialled it. I mean, obviously some hooks are heavier than others. Different size hooks, different shapes, different patterns, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to call it. But the thing is, at the end of the day, that hook is ready to come out of that PVA bag as soon as it starts breaking down, along with the boilie. So what I'm doing now is pushing down all of that bait. Now I'm not pushing extremely hard on it, I'm just pushing it and tampering it down so that it pushes the PVA bag into a shape, so that it forms the bottom of the bag nicely. Okay, now my hook point is still there, still showing. Yeah, you can just see it there, it's still there. The boilie is in amongst that little lot, but it's just at the bottom here. So pushing that down, working it all the way down, and then at this point, normally at this point I would be putting my lead in here, but I'm only doing this just as a demonstration. So I normally get halfway and then I throw my lead and the whole of my hook length. Don't worry about the hook length. If you've got stiff rig or like you know, hook length that's using like a stiff 1/0 or whatever, choddy rig system or whatever else, it won't really, you know, your rigs aren't going to be that long anyway, so they should sit nicely in these little bags without having too much of it all tangled up on itself. If you've got a large rig setup like I've got here, what you can do is just drop it in. The top half, as you can see, I've got a rubber sleeve in here, across here. That will still eject and push the hook length, like the hook, away from all of the lead and the lead core material. So I'm going to continue. So at this point I would have already put my lead in there, my lead weight, yeah, but all I'm doing is now is just showing you. Now, as you probably notice, I've got my hook length dead center of that bag, yeah, it's dead center. All right, so when I come to tie that bag up, my line, my hook length is in perfect alignment of that bag, yeah. It's important because the aerodynamics of this, when you're casting out, you want that weight of this bag like as aerodynamic as possible, yeah. So that's why you get the line to sit. It doesn't matter whether it's your hook length or whether it's your shock leader or your lead core or whatever, you want it central of that bag before you seal it up. Right, I'm going to just keep topping this up. I'm making it probably look harder than what it actually is, but it's just because obviously I'm just explaining to you, but it is dead simple. It really is. It's just about movement. Take your time, the amount of pressure you're putting on, yeah. Now these bags, you don't want to load them up. You don't want to load them right to the top, because you're going to be casting this over some, you're going to be casting some spod mix over the top of this anyway. This is just, think of it like as a little tiny saucer of food that you're putting out with your bait on the end to just encourage. And this has got, like, you know, I've put some in here. I've got some particle mix, the cell one, and I've also put in some, what did I put in with it? Oh, and I put some manila powder with it. So I've not done anything else. I've not put any flavourings in or any enhancers or anything like that. I've just put the powder with the particle, yeah. So as you can see now, the hook length is dead center, yeah, it's still dead center. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this bag up so that it's centralized. I'm trying to show you, but obviously with the angle of the camera. Right, so what I'm doing, I've got the line dead center. I'm twisting the bag now. I'm really twisting it. All right, so it's really tight. You can see it's getting tighter, yeah. And the forming of the bag takes place after. Right, let's just stick that there for a minute. I need the PVA tape. You can use PVA tape, or like me, a bit of PVA string. Now what I do with the PVA string, yeah, is I just do a slip knot, any old style slip knot, doesn't have to be anything in, you know, like in particular. Just do like a grinner knot, just a couple of overhand turns on it. And then feed that through the loop. Right. Okay, so I've made a little slip knot, yeah. This will tighten down and lock up, but don't forget this is going to also dissolve once it hits the water. Now I've done it big enough just to go over the hook length, right? So I've put the hook length through the loop, bear with me, right? Put that through the loop, feed it over to the top of the PVA bag. Now again, obviously I'll let go of the bag, so I need to twist it up again and tighten it up. But I've got that loop over the bag, yeah, so you can just see, yeah, it's ready to go. So I'm making sure I've got the hook length still centralized, okay, so it's still centralized, and I'm going to twist this bag at the top, right? So I've twisted it round, okay, and then with this slip knot, I'm going to just pull it down, tighten it up, yeah, and then wrap that round the bag, and then feed that back on itself. So I'm just feeding it through, like I've made a little loop, yeah. So I've just sort of gone round, and then what I've done is I've made a loop and then pulled the end of that tag, the tag end, back through the loop, if that makes sense. And that is all I want to do, yeah. You can do it once, you can do it twice, just to sort of hold it on there. So I've done another one. So look, all I've done is I've got the tag end of that string. I've made a loop, brought the tag end back under the bag, and then gone through that little loop. And just pull it up tight. That's it. That's all it's got to be. Yeah. So that's all nice and tight. Yeah. Now I can form this bag. So this people probably do it different ways, but I've always preferred my way. It works well for me, and it's quite nicely aerodynamic. Right, all I'm doing is squaring it up. I'm just squaring it up on the edges, on the sides, just gentle. If you find your bags are still too loose, yeah, when you're packing them out and whatnot, put a bit more bait in there. Just add a little bit more bait, but don't be scared. Look, this stuff is really stretchy. Look, you know, it's stretchy. So on the corners, all I do is I push all the bait back down into itself, and the corners, once I've got all the bait out of it, right, just a little wet finger, yeah, and then pull it up nice and tight and hold it there. Don't let go yet, hold it there, let it go off. A couple of seconds, it should be, you know, as good as. All right, so look, that's one corner. Yeah, so all I've done is I've pulled it up, I wet it, pinched everything out first, made sure that that was loose like this, so the corner's all nice and loose. Pinch it up, yeah, so I'm pinching it, pushing all the bait back into the ball so that I've got a bit of space in that corner. And then again, wet my finger, wet the bag up on that corner. Don't over wet it because it will start making holes. Right, so I've just pulled that up and hold it on there for a couple of seconds. Right, that's done. There you go. So that's taken. Yeah, nice little parcel, nicely packed, nice, you know, aerodynamic, so it's quite squared off. Yeah, now when you've got your lead in there, I would only use a 2.5 ounce lead. I wouldn't use anything bigger than that, purely because you've got the weight in there already. And if you put like, you know, let's say 3 ounce or 2, anything more than a 2.5 ounce, you're going to be casting. And I'm not saying that it would happen, but there is a possibility, because you've got so much weight in there, it could crack off and it could snap off on your safe zone leader or your lead core or whatever. So I try and put as light a lead in when I'm using PVAs, so that I don't have extra weight in that bag, and it doesn't also cause the bag to fly in directions you don't want it to go. So for that reason, I use a flat, if I can find one, inline lead. Yeah, I use these, ideal. I normally take this out. I'll take the plastics out of mine. I never have them on. I think they're just in there to, you know, I like my leads to be free running on the main line or on the safe zone leader. I like them free running because I like a bolt rig. There's, you know, there's enough weight there. It's a nice lead to put inside of a bag like that. Look at that already. If you put anything bigger than that, your bags are going to be massive, and the casting on them is just going to put a massive bend in your rod before you've even sort of like landed it in the spot where you're fishing. So try and keep your leads sort of flat, so it don't, when the bag breaks, it doesn't roll away and pull your hook length away from where the bait is. The idea is you want it all in one confined area, so having a flat pear lead is going to keep your hook length all in the same area as the bait that you've got in your PVA bag. So that's that. As with regards to the excess of this, what I usually do, see, you can't really see, I've got some fluoro on here, yeah, and what I normally do is I cut and make a tiny little, let's just get rid of the excess of that PVA tape, light string. So I cut one little snip right the way down to where the knot is, without actually catching my hook length. You don't want to, or if it's your lead core that's, or safe zone leader, you just want to make sure you don't cut that. So I tend to keep that out of the way, trim it down to the knot where the knot's tied, so it's all trimmed up. So I've got a little opening now, I've opened that up, yeah. So I now pull that out of the way, my hook length comes out of the way, and then it will expose, and use my thumb, keep my thumb there just to keep that hook length out of the way. I then get the excess, and I know I can cut it right up close, and that's how you want them. Yeah, so you've got no excess on this bit here. It's just all it is your hook length, and look, centralized, it's molded nicely, aerodynamic, nice little bit of weight behind it. It's not over heavy, it's going to be easy to cast. Your boilie's in the bottom, Your hook is still coming out the side, so you know that that's going to eject with your boilie quite nicely. And there we are. Alright, any questions, just give us a shout. I normally keep the excess of this PVA stuff. A lot of people just throw it away, but that's good tape. That's PVA tape. Yeah, keep that, because it all costs, doesn't it? Happy days. Well, that demonstration helped you out, Lee. Any questions, mate? I'm sorry if it wasn't as great as I could get with the video and that, mate, but I hope this helps you to sort of find your way to making your PVA bags. Cheers, bud. See you soon. See you Friday.